After she says her pride flag was removed from her front lawn by City Hall. Lisa Ebenall says she was at work yesterday when a complaint from a neighbor prompted the township of Langley to remove the flag without notifying her. She says officials have since apologized and returned the flag, but Ebenall questions why it was removed in the first place.
I'm really shocked that the township of Langley would actually act on such a type of complaint, which is obviously a prejudicial type of complaint aimed directly at the fact that it's a pride flag. We live in Canada. This is 2019. I'm actually really taken aback that somebody would be offended by it in this day and age.
She says another neighbor contacted the township on her behalf and the flag was returned. This is the second flag she's put out. The first was stolen. We have reached out to Langley Township for comment but haven't yet heard back.
Township of Langley are finally explaining why a bylaw enforcement officer went on private property to take down a pride flag. CTV's Amada Gahi tells us why the township says it was all a simple misunderstanding.
It began as a gesture of unity.
To me, it represents Canada. It represents all people being equal.
But instead, it divided this neighborhood in Aldergrove. Last Thursday, Lisa Ebenall hung a pride flag over the Bertrand Creek subdivision sign to celebrate Pride Month. She says hours later, a neighbor complained and her flag was gone.
Acting on that complaint, they came right out here and took it down from my yard.
So she called the township of Langley, explaining the flag and the sign were actually on her land. The township checked, and she was right. This was confirmed, and the crew promptly returned the flag to the property owner and verbally apologized, it said in an email to CTV. But that's where the frustration starts. Ebenall wonders why a complaint about a pride flag got such a timely response.
The fact that they acted so quickly, that they came straight out and took it down, really makes me question the motives behind it.
After we aired the story on Saturday, dozens of her neighbors are now also hanging pride flags in solidarity, but some still choose not to support.
We don't all have those beliefs.
This neighbor doesn't want the flags, especially the one on the sign, to speak for everyone.
I just don't want it to look like that her views represent all of Bertrand Creek, because it doesn't.
This is the thing that we need to understand, is that the world is changing, and the world is changing for the good in terms of acceptance. But at the same time, we still have folks who are living in the past.
It's not clear who made the first complaint, but it may have backfired, with some neighbors saying they might now leave the pride flags up all year long. Amada Gahi, CTV News.
What a difference a day makes.
The positive feedback I've gotten was very encouraging.
Over the weekend, Langley's Lisa Ebenall felt under siege. She'd put up a rainbow flag to recognize Pride Month. A neighbor complained, and the township came and took it down, which turned out to be a mistake because the flag was actually on her property. And while they returned it and apologized, some in her community made it known they were offended by her flag.
It represents the gay community as man with man or woman with woman, and I don't believe that's right. I know it's not right.
Well, that was tough for Lisa to hear. What happened next was astonishing. As news of her story spread, more rainbow flags started popping up in her neighborhood, on fences and railings. Lisa's message of inclusion for people who were different was catching on.
I got it because I support equal rights for all people and think people should be able to love who they want to love.
For me, it was somewhat personal. I grew up in the Fraser Valley.
By Monday afternoon, the news out of Langley had reached this man, Colin McKenna, president of the group that organizes the Vancouver Pride Parade, which has now invited Ebenall to march with them in this summer's parade in August.
I know how difficult it can be to stand up for people's rights, especially when sometimes your neighbors don't necessarily agree with you. And I think what she's done is remarkable.
Ebenall says at least 15 of her neighbors have now pledged to join her and fly the rainbow flag. How's that for an example of the persuasive power of a message.
Third time in recent weeks, a Langley woman has had her pride flag removed from in front of her home. She says the incidents are unfortunate, but they've actually had the opposite effect of what the thieves intended.
I was contacted by the flag shop in Vancouver, and they offered to replace my flag, and I told them, well, I do have a replacement for mine, but there's a lot of people who are looking for them, and they offered to bring out a bunch of flags.
Lisa Ebenall put the word out on social media that she had free pride flags to give away, and a steady stream of people have been arriving at her house all day, some from as far away as Maple Ridge and Abbotsford, to pick up a flag for themselves. Well, those flags are now gone, but just temporarily. Ebenall has ordered more.